Meeting room will come to order. We're now holding the August meeting of Vernon School District number 3. We have a quorum here, so please join me in a salute to our flag. With the flag of the United States of America. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think because there's so many people here tonight, we'll just forego the public comments. I'm just but what I would like to do, I was looking back over an OSBA brochure and to talk about public comments. Several of the cards that were filled out have to do with agenda items or items that will be on the agenda. And so if it is agreeable to those people that want to talk about critical race theory, sex ed, mass, etc., we can talk about that when we get to that agenda item. Have you speak so that it all runs together. That would be wonderful. And what I mean by if that would be okay, that's what we're going to do. So does anyone have public comment that doesn't have to do with the mask mandate or curriculum-based things such as sex education or CRT? Sir, you can take the mic. And please, in your comments, don't address individuals. Please keep it civil, and please keep it under 3 minutes. Thanks for the feedback.
Thank you, Mr. Frank. My name is Brad Herrera. I'm a resident here for 401 Shasta Place, just behind here. And I have to build a house. The first 3 items I'll address later on as they come up on the agenda. But the main thing as far as the public comment, I wanted to address the bullying issue that was come across last year's school year. Several students were being bullied throughout the school year. It was my understanding that at the Slater School, with the bullying, it seemed like the bullying, the kids that were bullying were also being rewarded in some fashion in the deal that was referred to as the cap. My understanding from what my oldest child, Steve McLaren, had asked, or had informed me of, when the child gets into certain trouble, whether it be bullying, disciplinary, or other disciplinary actions, and as far as misbehaving in school, they get sent to this cabin, or what we consider as a timeout. But the captain, while they're in there, rather than reflecting on whether or not the behavior was right or wrong, they were fed candy and they got time away from class, which a lot of kids see as a reward. Now, in my household, I don't reward bad behavior. I discipline and I punish in accordance to that. If a child doesn't do his chores, he doesn't get screen time, he doesn't get play video games. If he breaks a window, he has to pay for it out of his own pocket. Another issue that had come up between both Kean and my daughter Carly was the threats of children bringing guns to school, bringing knives onto the bus, getting punched, hit. They tell the bus driver, they tell the PE teachers, nothing comes of it. Basically a slap on the wrist, don't do it again. In the previous school year, I had talked to the principal, I said, I can't even remember his last name. So I had addressed that the child had wanted to bring a gun and shoot up the whole place. When bringing it up, he knew exactly who I was. And I just want to know, how is the Board of Education for this current school year and the rest of the school year when we address this issue?
Thank you. another thing that I got out of the pamphlet on public comment, but if we don't rebut every comment, it's not because we're not listening, but we may need to do research to get back to you, but definitely took notes, behavioral issues, and it's something that we'll discuss, so thank you for bringing that up. Is there any further public comment?
About CRT?
Can we wait until we get to the curriculum part? Thank you. All right, on to the consent agenda.
There's one more, sorry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gray, quick question. So we wanted to wait on masks and vaccines too, and is that going to be appropriate to discuss under new business number 16, safe return to in-person instruction?
Oh no, you're in for a surprise because we've got a few agenda additions to make right now. So we'll insert those. Before we approve this consent agenda, if we could add item number 7, work session update, which is where we'll talk about the curriculum and we'll give you an update of the work session we just had. And then item number 8 would be stinking masks as it's put on my agenda. So we'll talk about those then.
Thank you.
Has everyone had an opportunity to review the items in the consent agenda? I would entertain the motion to approve.
Agenda's read.
Second. Dan moves to approve. Mr. Fulton seconds. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, raise your hand. 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Consent agenda passes. Next thing, reports and present. Oh, just kidding. Minute. Reports and presentations. Board chair's report. Superintendent evaluation letter. Mr. Fulton, since you were the chair at the time, if you would like to read that letter aloud, you can, or we can just acknowledge that it'll go in Mr. Quick's folder. And while you're looking that up, it is, we will leave it at the pleasure of the board if you would like to formally take action and approve, not the letter that is summing up the evaluation, but the actual score sheet. OSBA said according to our policy, it was a little ambiguous as to whether or not we had to take action. So if you want to just leave it as is here, that letter for evaluation is already taking place, we go in Mr. Quick's file, that's fine. If you like me to take action on that one rubric, you can. It's up to you.
On June 15th, 2021, the Harney County School District number 3 Board of Directors held an executive session for the sole purpose of finalizing the annual evaluation of Superintendent Steve Quick. Those in attendance include Mr. Steve Quick, Mrs. Brenda Graham, Mr. Rob Frank, Mrs. Nancy Norris, Mr. Dan Wynn, Mr. Doug Gunderson, Mr. Randy Fulton, and OSBA Representative Vincent Adams via Zoom. Mr. Quick was evaluated on 8 standards: visionary district leadership, ethics and professional norms, inclusive district culture, culturally responsive instructional leadership and improvement, communications and community relations, effective organizational management, effective financial management, and policy governance and advocacy. Each of these 8 standards were scored on a 1 to 4 point system. Each board member presented their evaluation scores on the 8 approved standards and provided a brief narrative on how and why they scored each standard. The scores were tallied and applied to this evaluation summary. After careful and intensive review of the evaluation of Superintendent Steve Quick, the Harney County School District number 3 Board of Directors find Superintendent Quick to be highly competent, effective, visionary, and professional leader of the Harney County School District number 3. Respectfully submitted the 16th day of June, 2021, Randy Fulton, Board Chair, Harney County School District number 3.
Thanks, Mr. All right. Next report. Student services. Presenter HMS and Slater Summer School.
All right, so June 22nd was the last day of the 2021 Henry L. Slater Summer School. Nearly 100 K through 5 students participated in this opportunity. It lasted for 6 weeks and 84% of the students made it from start to finish with only missing a few days. Our kindergarten camp had 17 incoming kindergarten students. The focus for this group was to become familiar with Slater. This is a new big school, so this allowed time for these students to become familiar with hallways, playground, cafeteria, buses, and both classroom and school procedures. They spent a lot of time working on social skills and math and reading skills. Grades 1st through 5th spent their time focusing on reading and math skills. We saw great growth in every student in at least one area. Many students improved their reading fluency, while others improved their basic math skills. All students had the opportunity to have a 30-minute music or PE class daily. The cafeteria provided a wonderful daily lunch, and the district bus drivers provided transportation. According to the students, some of the highlights of summer school were the slip and slide, solar ovens, art, painting rocks, writing, studying different periods of American music, singing, and of course, ice cream. This was a very successful program, and we will make some minor changes to make it even better next year. I want to personally thank every teacher, paraprofessional, cook, and bus driver that gave up some of their summer to make the 2021 Henry L. Slater Summer School successful. It could not have been possible without every single one.
I feel like I gotta really shout, so hopefully you guys can hear me in the back without a microphone. Just want to make sure people understand that with the mask mandate that came down here from the governor after having given local control to school districts, I've been working really closely with Representative Owens, Senator Finley, and regional superintendents. We've had several meetings, a couple of them on Zoom, a couple of them in person. Colt Gill from ODE, the superintendent in charge of all education in the state of Oregon, met with us on Monday at the Malheur ESD. We've talked about the mandates, what schools can do. The state has really emphasized, I would say they've emphasized the consequences for schools not following the mandate. You know, we were just watching a webinar right before we came to this meeting that they were put on by OSBA, which is the school board associations in the state. And it sounds like the governor is going to come out and make some more stringent requirements tomorrow at 11. So we're really kind of in a state of unknown at this point. We know what we want. We want local control. I would say 99% of the people do not want to see the masks on people in school. I'm right there with you. I feel your frustrations. I know that's why many of you here tonight. You know, we spent the whole school year last year in masks. And they are quick to point out at ODE at least that, you know, of the 120 mandates we had last year in school, you know, they're only requiring 4. And I think unfortunately, the one that really caused the most consternation for everyone was the mask, and that is one that they're including. So we're at a point tomorrow that we'll kind of see what the governor says and how that affects schools and sports. Because as of today, right now, the only time they're mandated is during that school day. During sports activities, staff meetings, board meetings and such, as of right now, they're not required. We have that decision debate locally, but it could all change tomorrow. But I just want the people of our community to know that we've been working really hard with our legislators. We're trying to do everything we can in a way that doesn't put us on the radar for getting on OSHA's radar. We don't need that. We don't need fines. And one thing we're really worried about is the things that they have said about that would affect our teachers' licenses, my own license. And so when you come out directly against it, they've let us know right up front that if you say that, you could be putting yourself in harm's way, essentially. So anyway, I wanted people to know that we are working on that here. We hear you. I've received emails. If I haven't responded, I apologize. It's just been really busy and the volume. So eventually I will get back to you. But I do want to get to the rest of my report. I think we are going to talk about the math and things later on. One thing is every year we're always wondering about, new teachers, how many we have. The last 2 years, we've done a phenomenal job of retaining teachers. Last August, we reported one teacher at Slater, one new teacher at Slater, 2 at HMS, and 1 at the high school here. This fall, we're 2 teachers at Slater. I think make that 3. We're 3 teachers at Slater, 1 at HMS, and 1 at BHS. We had our band teacher resigned here a couple weeks ago. We were able to get that position posted. We've offered a contract, and we believe he's going to be here on time for school. So sometimes those late minute hires like that are super hard to find. We feel fortunately found a really high quality veteran teacher to come in and do band. And now we just hope we can get it. So it's that. In terms of summer programs, this was the biggest. Well, it's the first summer school we've offered in this district since I've been here. First one we've offered in a long time, I believe, and it was very large at the elementary school. A lot of participation. We appreciate the parents that trusted us to send their students again this summer, and phenomenal program. Part of that is the school lunch program. Just to give you a context, in 2019 in the summer, our food service program put out 4,054 meals. In the summer of 2020, they were doing both breakfast and lunch last year. But for the lunch side of things, they put out 4,233 meals. And this summer, they churned out 4,628. So our food service program is feeding our children throughout the summer at lunch. Anybody that wants it could go to the different locations to pick them up. And we really appreciate the hard work that our food service people do to continually support our students and the families throughout the summer. Another piece that goes kind of behind the way, as you saw coming in the door, probably looked down the hallway, saw things look a little bit maybe in disarray. But ultimately during the summer, our maintenance crews are able to take care of some things that are pretty hard to take care of when there are people in the building. And so this summer I asked Mr. Peasley to give me kind of a rundown generally what they've accomplished. And they're cleaning and disinfecting all lockers, cleaning classrooms, restrooms, offices. It's that deep cleaning, refinishing all the gym floors. 2 of the gym floors we do ourselves. One of them we contract out the high school since we just got it repainted and refinished last year. We brought in a separate company to make sure we got that done right, to keep it in our warranty. But they're waxing floors, painting classrooms. Teachers at the end of the school year all turn in a slip of issues in their classroom, what's going on. So they take care of all those little tiny issues, new whiteboards, bulletin boards, and things like that. Light bulbs changed. So I just really want to give a big shout out to our custodian and maintenance crews that kind of work behind the scenes and work all summer long, especially this summer when I just looked at the weather the other day to see how many days have we had above 90 degrees in this summer. I just never seen anything like it. And our folks are out there working at it every day. But June had 15 days, June had 15 days alone above 90. July was like almost every day but 1, just crazy. But our people worked hard. They come in here with good attitudes. We were able to hire 3 students this summer. We were unable to fill our positions, so we went to Boley and said, hey, can we hire some kids for some summer work? And we had some students apply, got some great summer work for them and for us, kind of mutual benefits official there, so it was kind of fun. So ultimately, I think our buildings are going to be ready to go by first day of school on 23rd, and we're excited and appreciate the work that that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. Last superintendent's report, you talked about the TVCC building that transition.
So I did research on that. Actually, I sent out notice to them saying, hey, we're going to need to use this building next year. Turns out at some point there was an agreement made where that building actually belongs to them. So they won't be leaving anytime soon. But it really did open a great dialogue between the administration and the vice president of TVCC. She felt that perhaps services in our area weren't like they could be. And so she's committed to working well with us and perhaps forming some new partnerships to offer some more opportunities for our kids in the future. So the building will remain TVCC in the future. They're kind of committed to improving programs and improving the facility itself. So.
Thank you. Next agenda item is work session update, which is where we can talk about curriculum. And so I guess we could hear the public comments that have to do with this curriculum related topics such as CRT and sex ed. Just a reminder, please be civil, don't point out individuals, and be conscientious of other people's time. Try to keep it under 3 minutes. And if you're a member of a group, if you could appoint one spokesperson so that it's not 5 people reiterating the same thing, but if you want to speak, we have time to listen. So I can go through these cards, or you can just line yourselves up like goals.
Chris Wyatt, and you guys know me because we've seen each other the last couple of months. So I'm gonna try and keep it a little brief. I know I've gone through some of the curriculum that has been brought out in Beaverton, which is a statewide curriculum. I know you guys were looking at some curriculum, what you were gonna adapt. The last meeting you guys had here, and that was where I was asking some questions. There was some links so I could look through the curriculum myself. There were some key things I was looking for. Some things that most people know is CRT, critical race theory. There's some other equity and some other Marxist type items that have been found in some curriculums in Oregon, state approved curriculums. And those were the things I was looking for. I wanted to see if they were in there. Yeah, I guess it would be more of a question of were you able to find any of those things when you went through the curriculum? No, nothing in there. Okay, because I couldn't find the history book to go through and see if it was in there. I would still like to. I know you said the books are available at the building for me to come look at.
So yeah, Miss Hunter has a copy of all the social studies books that we have in our district. We're welcome you to come in,
Yes.
read through those things, and if there's any particular items that are disconcerting to you, let us know about them.
Well, then those are pretty much anything that puts one person above another because of their race is what I'm concerned about. Real simple. You know, anything that says a person of one skin color is better than another person, or one person is worse than another, or oppressor of another, just because of skin color, I don't think that people in this county would agree with that.
No.
I'm not here to rate anybody. You guys have to think this job, what you're doing, right? So I'm not doing it. All I'm asking is a little time to look into it and see if it's in there. So I know it's being pushed in other counties and other school boards, and a lot of these school boards are fighting back against it. You know, Parents Defending Education is a group that's fighting back against it in Oregon right now, so. All right, so that was one item. Another item has to do with, there's children in here. So sex education. At kindergarten, they're starting to teach children about themselves and what they can do with themselves. I think we all get that, right? And I'm in disagreement with that. And I know that in this high school, that curriculum was brought up, and the person I was supposed to teach it refused. And I'd like to see that continue. But I'd like to see you guys get together like some of the school boards have done and say that we won't teach that here because we don't think it's appropriate.
Yes.
It's just simple request. I'll skip over the next one. I'll go to mandated vaccine for the teachers. You know, my wife works at the hospital, and they've got about a 30% acceptance rate. They've been having meetings about this. They don't want it. I'm sure the teachers here, I know some of the teachers here told me they don't want it. I'm trying to make it really quick. So I would urge also the school board to do just like the county did. The county put in an ordinance that they would not force their employees to take a vaccine. It would be voluntary. So I would urge you to also do the same. Some of these teachers that don't want to take it are good teachers. And then the last thing is obviously the masks. You know, I know there's money related to this critical race theory that you guys get for teaching these approved curriculums. You know, there's penalties that you can put through for not following mask mandates. But I think most of us would back you up if you started saying no on these items.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You know, we would. We'd all be here for you. So anyway, there's enough people to talk about this, but that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Brad Guerra. Yeah, I live at 401 Chester Place here in Burns. I work at Lex Law full-time. I'm a business owner of C3 Games. I'm also a Burns City Councilor. I'm also a father of three, two of which of those children actually attend Slater School. Sex ed was taught to me in high school. It was taught to me while I was at Lincoln Junior High. It was not taught to me while I was at Hines Elementary. It was not taught to me at Slater Elementary. The ages of puberty, according to Merriam-Webster, on average is 12 to 13 years of age. Anything before that is unacceptable to be teaching these children anything about sex education. If it is appropriate, it should be left up to me. It should be left up to these parents out here. Not to the school, not to the governor, not to the State Board of Education. That falls on my shoulders as a parent. In Harney County, I looked up these statistics just a few minutes ago. 10 sex offenders per 1,000 is our statistics. By doing this, I can already see by teaching children sex ed from kindergarten all the way to 6th grade is going to increase that dramatically. Because they're going to know what to do with it and how to use it. Let's keep it in the middle school and the high school only. When I was taught, I was taught at Lincoln Junior High and DHS. When I was in high school, college, I practiced safe sexual practices. I was not a high school father. As a matter of fact, my first child, Carly, was not born until after I graduated college. I urge the board to dismiss the sex education curriculum from K through 6th grade. Critical race theory. Benefits of being white. I'm a mixed race. I'm half Mexican. I'm half white. I've had to deal with that all my life. My daughter, Carly, and my youngest child, who is only 2, are quarter Mexican and 75% white. So how does the state dictate how my children are going to be as far as white privilege? How do you dictate that when you have a mixed race? You can't. You can't dictate it when you're just one race. All these races are all one. I bleed red just like the rest of you and the rest of these folks out here. I've had to deal with bullying just because of who I am and what my name is. I'm a little dark, but I work outside too. Most of my stuff, I don't speak Spanish. I was born here in Burns. I was raised here in Burns, and I'll probably die here in Burns. Doesn't matter what race I am, because I'm an American, and I'm a Harney County person and a citizen of Oregon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Patty Hodge. I don't have any kids left here at school. They're all graduated. My grandkids are not going to go to public school because of things like this. Critical race theory. I don't know what people think this stuff really is because I was reading up on it today and their so-called experts have no idea how to get along on it and agree because there is no definition. If you've looked it up, you'll find hundreds. Anyway, they say they can't get along because they don't know what it means. Masking, that should be left as a family personal decision, not the governor's mandates. She has no right to tell us how to take care of ourselves for our health. And as a matter of fact, June 29th, 2020, she stated that everybody, she didn't say women, she said everybody has the right or should have the freedom to decide on their families, their health, their futures. She meant abortion, killing babies, but that's what she said. Those are her words, everybody. Now she's not doing that. And as you can see from this room, I don't think there's anybody in here who's happy with any decision to use any of this curriculum that is coming up. If we all stand up for what we believe, we can beat it, at least for the time being. We don't need to teach our kids these things. We don't need to teach a 4-year-old that they weren't born a boy or a girl, that they were a she, him, her, it, whatever. They don't need to know that. You're born a boy or a girl. That's what God gave us, one or the other.
That's right.
And let's not be cowards. You guys have a job. We're willing to back you up. I'll buy you food if you lose your job. I'll feed you anytime you need to. State funding, fines, is it worth your morals? Not for me.
Well, I don't want to call the kettle black, but we homeschooled our children. After the first grade, we watched what they did to our children who could read when he went in the first grade, and in 3 weeks he couldn't anymore. He's just stuck. My kid's got a picture up there because he was in your band, and I love Burns, and I love all of you. What you're doing right now with CRT is you're just adding to the race column. The more you talk about race versus the individual and their worth, the more you promote racism. Would you just stop this? The first thing I ever learned, and I learned it in Klamath Falls playing rock and roll music in a bar. I played as a front man playing trumpet and singing with a black kid who was the handsomest young man I've ever known. We were sitting in a booth and a couple of gals came over to buy us drinks and probably get a date with Al. And their first question was, we don't want to offend you. Do you want to be called a person of color, a black person, a Negro? How do you like to be called? He went, Al works best for me. And if you would just adopt that, for heaven's sakes, this race crap would stop, okay? And everything else. All people want to be is who they are. You want to be Steve Quick. That's enough for me.
Hi, my name is Gretchen Bates, and I am very thankful right now that I have 2 kids that are no longer in school. We had a good experience with it in the Burns schools, but I'm glad that they're not going through what's happening right now. I just wanted to follow up a few things with critical race theory. And so my understanding is, what is critical race theory? It will teach our white students that they have benefited from systemic racism, and therefore they must be racist oppressors. CRT divides society, promotes segregation, and actually creates racism, like Tom says. Another element of CRT that is really concerning is that it relies upon the idea of equity. We're all for equality, but equity is equal outcomes rather than equal opportunity. Okay, and how that manifests itself in schools is that this is seeped into some math type of curriculums, in that math must be equitable. So there's a push to accept pretty much any answer as correct, so no one feels bad. This does not create well-educated students, and there's no place for something like that in Harney County. I would follow up with that and say that the proof that this is actually happening in Oregon is that, and I don't know the exact details of that, so I saw a couple of press releases today, that there is a relaxing of standards for reading and math for students that graduate in Oregon, in order to make it easier for students, perhaps of color, to pass and be graduated on. So I think it's something that the school district really needs to take a very close look at, because some of this CRT and this equity of outcomes is in the very details in the book, whether it's math or whether it's social studies. So it's not something that's going to be really out there right on the surface, I think. If you were to skim through the social studies book, you might not see it the first time. So I would really urge you to dig into the curriculum and think about how equity, equal outcomes impact our students, and how we need to be very careful when we're saying that white students
benefit from, white privilege, because it's just, CRT talks in that respect, puts one color of student above another student, and it's being taught even to kindergartners in some places. So, I know I probably went over my, I was 3 minutes here. So please, look at the details, and don't be afraid to stand up to the state of Oregon, whether it be a CRT, masking, or vaccine mandates, because Harney County is a very special place, and the only way that we can make a difference in the state is to band together locally and work together. So that's what I'm saying. Thank you.
I'm not a public speaker, so I'm not, I don't have all my facts in front of me other than the ones that I have from my kids. So I'm apparently uninformed as a parent because I didn't know that the CRT was part of our curriculum. I had heard about it becoming part of it. Or the sex education for our kids in Slater. My daughter's now a 2nd grader, and so I've never had anything come home either, as well as that. I am opposed to sex education at that age. And as the CRT, I feel like you have said it wasn't a part of ours. So I'm asking you guys as well to not make that one, because like I said, my kids don't look at the color of someone's skin. If they're nice, if they're their friends, we have to learn from history, not repeat it. And as for the mask mandates, I have a kid in every single school, one in Slater, one in middle school, and one in high school. Every single one of my kids has had problems. We didn't even go to school last year full time. And my son consistently had learning problems when we were homeschooling. He was principal's list, everything else. I was getting notes from the principal, and then we had meetings with the students. My son was falling asleep in class. Now he's up for a sleep study, which is all seemed to be miraculously better since summer started, and my kid doesn't have to wear a mask. My daughter breaks down horrible rashes that have gotten infected. She's stuffy every day. My younger one pulls on her mask so much that it rips the back of her ears. I do not want to see any of you guys get in trouble, and I understand that, but like everybody else said, we will stand behind you because it does take an army to raise children, and I'm asking you to be the army behind ours. So I'm up here on behalf of my child. She told me that she doesn't want to go to school at all if she has to wear a mask. And to me, that hurts. Because she doesn't have that social skills that she should have at her age. And where I'm a full-time worker at Les Schwab, I will have to have my mom sit there and teach my kid because she doesn't want to go to school because she doesn't want to wear a mask. And to me, that's not all right. She should go to school. She should have that social impact that a 2nd grader should have. And the racial thing, she's 8 years old. She knows none of that. She should know that everybody believes red. We're all the same in God's eyes. So I'm asking for her. She needs a future. Thanks.
Like they didn't get a chance to speak, but if just because you filled out a card, if someone else already expressed your viewpoint, it's okay if you don't get up and speak. Does anyone else want to speak about curriculum before I give you the rundown on what we talked about? I should have done that first, probably. Okay. You'd like to? You better have all night.
Do I give her a minute too? My name is Corey Shellman. I live here in Burns. I'd just like to thank the school board, each one of you for all that you do for our family and our community.
My wife's ill tonight, she should be here speaking for me. She encouraged me to come and represent our family. I have the same concerns that all these other well-spoken individuals have spoke tonight, and endorse everything that I've heard thus far. I too am very concerned with these things, and I realize we're in a spot where, you know, if we don't do what the state says, they can fire people or take our money or whatever. So you know, it's not my job at risk to stand up and say no to this. I guess in my own personal life, you know, in what I do for a living, there's times that I do have to make a decision whether I'm gonna be a part of that or not. And so I'm not asking anybody to risk their job or their livelihood for this, but at the same note, I would hope that we do everything we can as a superintendent, as a board, to resist these things. I'm the same. I don't think that some of these things in the way that it's being brought forward are healthy for our children, whether it's race or sex ed or anything for that matter, the masks. I don't think that's something that the state should be able to tell our children they have to wear to come to school. I think there's a lot of hypocrisy in it. If they can go to a football game without it, why can't they just go sit at their desk in class without it? So I hope that we would oppose those things and do anything we can to do that. I think some of this race thing's already being taught in our schools. My son graduated 2 years ago. He spent most of his high school history coming home with, you know, all about how our founding fathers were racist and dirtbags and how Americans were really bad people and oppressed the rest of the world. So it's already being taught in our schools, at least it was, and has for some years. So you know, for that matter, ranchers were greedy people and bad people too, and that came through the history program there in Burns High School. So we talked about it at home and said, you know what, I'm going to consider the source. I went through high school history with that individual too, and kind of a lot of that same agenda then. So that said, I hope that you would oppose these things that may be forced on us. And I'll say this, that we've talked to my wife and I about it. If some of this stuff does come to pass in our school, we probably will homeschool all of our kids. And I don't want to do that.
Hello, my name is Ariel Harrison. I just moved here with my mom and my stepdad, Jesse Johnson, and bought camping here about 2 months ago. I've gone through my whole life going through school, okay, and I would just like to say that I know I might not be taken as seriously because of my age, but I would like to bring up the fact that I have never been so nervous for a school year, purely just because of the fact that things so socially change so often. And if I don't have the same view as another person, I'm viewed as racist or hated or just not as equal. And I feel that we are not living as one, but living under one person, which apparently we decided it was okay. And if we read right here, it says, this has seeped in the math. Math must be equitable, so the push is to accept any answer as correct, so no one feels bad. I'm pretty sure we all are thinking the same thing with that. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. Is that defeats the entire purpose of education in itself. Is I want to go through life knowing that I did good because my teachers told me and helped me learn through the fact. That's not learning. It's just making ourselves feel better, and that's how we have people in the world with egos the size of the buildings. And I don't think this is fair, and I think we were all thinking the same thing. But, yeah, sorry, I was a little nervous.
I know, but my wife asked me to read this, if you guys don't mind. Dear Mr. Quick and school board members, we the citizens of Harney County strongly oppose the teaching of critical race theory-based programs and call for you to remove all such materials and instructions from the various high schools. Critical race theory violates the Constitution's First Amendment, which protects citizens from compelled speech. The 14th Amendment, which guarantees equal protection under the law, and the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibiting public institutions from discriminating on the basis of race. And this CRT is discrimination against race. Mandates from federal and state agencies to teach these curricula are a waste of valuable education time and resources, as well as an abuse of public tax dollars. We urge our school district to join the grassroots mobilization against these mandates, which are being challenged and defeated successfully by coalitions of attorneys filing lawsuits against agencies promoting the CRT. Educators in our community have trained up our children to build a culture of excellence and strong character. That's you. I look around at our kids and I think they're pretty doggone fine as they are. The tools they need to meet the challenges and the tools they need to meet the challenges of today's society. We stand on behalf of excellence in education for our children and the future they represent. Respectfully, Margaret Wallace, Burnsburg.
A lot to get through. Update on the work session that we just had all afternoon. The board met with the administrative team, Mr. Quick, the building principals, all the school principals met, and I will give you a quick rundown on that because it's good for you to know, but it's also pertinent to some of the things we discussed tonight. We passed the board meeting calendar, no change there. It's the second Tuesday of the month, right? 6 o'clock. Yeah. We talked about the strategic plan, and our two goals for the strategic plan are to make sure all students are on track to graduate, deals with graduation requirements in our facilities. We talked at length about developing an advisory type committee made up of teachers, community members to represent the community that can look at the graduation requirements, not only the essential skills that Governor Brown just suspended for 5 years, but also the curriculum and the standards that make it up. Because if you've looked at social studies standards that can be implemented in 21 and some of those other things that are concerning to you, Mr. Quick pointed out that in terms of sexual education, there are standards that have been suggested by the state, but we have allowed teachers, I don't want to misspeak, we have allowed teachers to teach what is appropriate to our community. And I think our goal as a board is that this committee will help us solidify those choices so that we're not just doing it off the cuff. Well, don't worry about teaching those standards. If we make a plan as a committee and as a board, then we actually have something with some teeth in it if there are some standards passed that are not congruent with what we believe is best for our kids. So that's one of the things that will be coming up. I don't want to say too much else about it, but we'll be recruiting community members, parents of students in school, and teachers to talk about these things to make sure that our curriculum, and that's the other thing. The term curriculum got thrown around a lot. Critical race curriculum, sex ed curriculum. There may be some things entwined in standards, but it's not necessarily curriculum that we are teaching. We're going to have a presentation of curriculum here pretty quick. We don't talk too long. So those are some things that we talked about. If you're interested, maybe contact one of the board members, myself, and Mr. Quick. Let them know that you'd like to serve on that committee. It's not going to be a giant committee, but it'll be impactful. We talked about the Student Investment Act plan, how we'll use funds to better serve our students, and they already have it budgeted for great things that will increase the student engagement in our schools. Talked about facilities, the principals talked about their successes and challenges and are all excited to get kids back in school. We talked about board member goals, and some of the goals that we brainstormed is to improve performance of students, improve student retention, and improve our teacher retention and experience. And we are going to, in the coming months, look at some baseline data so that we know how to set some metrics for ourselves of what's achievable to make those improvements. But I thought it was important to point those things out. We didn't have a chance to talk about OSBA training and retention because the webinar started. So that is the update on the work session. Now, this next agenda item, masks, number 8. Does anyone have any thoughts about masks?
Before we move on to that, can I just mention something about the curriculum and sex ed stuff? I think people need to understand that we do have local control over our curriculum, what we adopt. I think what we have even more control over is how we teach the curriculum. We have fantastic teachers in this district that do teach to the standards that we feel are appropriate locally. When it comes to CRT, it's not a curriculum. There are things that perhaps could be embedded in there somewhere. I know I heard Corey say that, you know, his student, I believe he's a high school student, had definitely some disagreements with perhaps some of his teachers. We want students to be critical thinkers, you know, and I would say whenever you as a parent face any curriculum, anything being taught in the school that you question, please bring it up with that teacher. If you don't get traction with the teacher, please come to the principal or myself, because we want students to be critical thinkers. We are not, when you start talking about CRT, we are not intentionally teaching anything related to CRT. We treat all students, staff equitably. And I understand completely what you're saying, but we're not teaching CRT, okay? We have curriculum, and I think more than anything, I trust our teachers. They're professionals, they understand our community, they understand our values. In my experience, I've had 3 complaints come through about, you know, a different day something was taught, and we were able to work through the issue with the parents and the teacher. Our teachers are solid, they understand us, they understand our values, and if you ever question it, feel free. Come in and talk to the teacher, talk to that. In terms of sex ed, we are not teaching some of the things that are getting taught in Portland, I guarantee you. The sex ed in our school district is really focused on sexual abuse prevention. You know, and you need to talk to kindergartner, unfortunately, in these days about sexual abuse prevention. We're not talking about the details they're talking about in Valley. I guarantee you that. We have local people, again, that talk about things that are appropriate to keep them safe. So when something does happen, they have the tools and the resources to be able to report it and take care of it so sexual abuse doesn't happen. So that's where I stand. I really trust our teachers. They're all solid. They all believe in our community. They all believe in our kids. We want our kids to be critical thinkers. And so I would encourage you to talk to your kids on a regular basis. Talk to them about what they've learned every day in their classrooms and question it. There's nothing wrong with questioning. That's what makes a good student, in my opinion. When they question, that's where they learn.
Thank you.
I have a question about that. How do you know all the teachers are on the same page? Like, have you sat down, sorry, as principal sitting here, on KC principal? How do you guys all know that you're all on the same page? Do you guys all sit down as teachers together and discuss? Absolutely. This is what we're teaching, and not this is what this person is saying, this is what this person's personal feelings are. I want to know my child is all being taught the same exact thing as kindergarten in the next class. Absolutely. Okay. Yep. And also in areas like that, like Aaron's Law, those kinds of things, we bring in someone trained to teach it, and they pare it down to make it appropriate for the different levels.
Do we get notified about that? Like, so I guess I can say that that's the picture. But to talk to anything about sexual abuse, I don't have to say anything.
Aaron's Law, yeah, you gotta let her home and you can opt out.
I'm not sure if I got it or I would have bypassed it somewhere to, but never seen one saying that anything about it.
And the nice thing too with the Aaron's Law, it's nice enough to offer us some materials that we can choose to use. And we do want you to know what's out there, because there is, as a parent, please look through that. But you know, one of the things we decided within our district was to use our school counselor and talk about, you know, in Harney County, the issues that our students face are very different than the students in Portland, Beavers, and other places. And so this year, again, parents, while we come about again, it's something that we address every year. But you kids are more than welcome as we get that information from the schools, to call the principals. Again, our counselors would be more than happy to sit down with you guys and
let you know exactly what they are talking about. A stranger kids are on the street, and we go all the way. As we're talking about starting a committee, this committee would be underneath of your guys, because I've heavily been thinking about taking on PTA. Maybe this can coincide the same as PTA. Your committee.
This committee would be an advisory committee to the board, yes. And if anyone has any more questions about Aaron's Law or any of that, you can direct it to your schools and the teachers and principals. So we better move on or else we'll never get out of it. If you have more questions, ask, email, call, anyone up here, that's fine. Okay, masks. Does anybody have anything they'd like to express? The Department of Education and the governor with this mandate have just about tied education's hands on what they can do about these masks. If they can't shut us down, they can't hold our state money, but they can fine us, and they've gone so far as to threaten TSBC can pull administrators' licenses if they don't enforce it.
Rob, has nobody questioned the authority of one dictator to have that authority to pull your license because you don't do what she says?
Well, hold on. So, and we did get a little loosey-goosey there. We've got to tighten it up and just get through this board business. No one has done that yet. Nobody wants to be the first to do that. This is frustrating because we all have expectations for our students, especially in Harney County. I feel that if the OSBA has advised boards not to take action, because if you take action, you will be targeted by OSHA, who will be doling out the fines, which to me is fairly tyrannical, that whole idea. What I struggle with is, I feel that when a lot of people say our top priority needs to be to keep kids in school in person, that's our top priority. I feel like our top priority being involved in education or as adults in society is to model integrity and virtues for our students. That's right. And I feel that if we cave to unlawfully promulgated laws, it shows a lack of integrity. And in Harney County especially, for our kids to watch us, some of us, not all of us, but to watch some of us say, we don't agree with what's going on. This shouldn't be happening. And they watch us go on and do it. We go on and go ahead with it. I think that is a terrible signal for our students. And so I don't want to put our school in a bad situation. I don't want to do anything that will affect our ability to educate students. However, I think that a person has to make choices based on what's wrong and right, not based on fear or fear of consequences. I would like to see us pass a resolution that we will not enforce face coverings or documentation of immunization. And that if there are repercussions to people in our educational organization, we will absolutely back them up. If there are fines, if there are threats of pulling their licensure, but I'm not the one that has a license on the line or a job. And I'm one voice on the board, and I can't make that motion as the chair. So is there any further discussion on that?
I'll make a motion as a public.
Sorry, sir. You're out of order.
Just real quick, Mr. Frank, I was just gonna add this. When the governor starts paying my medical bills, that's when she can start dictating what me and my children can wear or get vaccinated.
All right. So we're on the same page.
I'm actually in agreement with you.
Thank you.
Now, on the same page, to be
You can't have any more public comment, I'm sorry. Let's wait till the end, and if you have some, we'll see what we've got time for. From the board.
It's a hard one for me. I completely agree with you, but we've got other public that we have to think about.
You speak a little louder, it's really hard to hear without a mic up there, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying that as public officials up here, as public representatives, we have a duty to both sides. That's my concern is when the teachers are the one, when and if the teachers are the ones that are complaining because we're not doing the masks mandates, or they're going to lose their license, or they could lose their livelihood, I really do think that we need to look at both sides. I completely agree, I really do, but I'm also looking at the other side, and the other repercussions of what could happen. That $126,000 fine, it's great to say, oh, well, but that's what it could be. It was over 200, if you have over 215, they just said it, 215 people employed in your school district, that could be the maximum fine. So I just think that jumping in with both feet and saying we're not gonna do it, that's absolutely wonderful, but we have to have 99% backing. You can't.
One of the things I thought long and hard about this, because back in July, Representative Owens drafted a bill or something to that effect that had some language that said, we won't require face coverings or documentation of immunization. And I thought that was a policy that might work good for our school board, right up until 2 weeks ago when the governor took back the local control. And they did it so cunningly and so well crafted that I don't know if that wording would work. However, I feel like by using the wording, we will not enforce, it doesn't say that we will not comply. I think we still need to have posted the state issued flyers and stuff on windows.
I agree.
But even their information says that we can't coerce students to comply. So a rule that can't be enforced isn't much of a rule. Are there other?
I would like to suggest,
Really,
I'm sorry,
but
Mr. Craig, I just say, make it an option.
You can't.
So the language is that if any one of you, anybody in the community reports anonymously, it could be, to OSHA, we are under investigation. And they'll come in, send investigators, and it's like, it could be up to $126,000 fine initially, and then, if it found out that a superintendent or an individual teacher or a principal are negligent, their license will be revoked. Also, there's daily fines on top of that for continued non-compliance. So it's not, it's not insignificant, the consequences of this. I honestly don't see a way where, it's great to say, hey, we won't enforce, but in reality is, what do we not enforce? I mean, so basically, teachers can say, put your mask on, and the kid won't. And the rule is that if they're here, we have to create alternative models of education for them, not on site. And so if you don't comply to any of that, you're up against fines. So I'm 100% agree with Rob. I think it's a bad idea to, limit your freedoms and what you can do with your body, but I don't know a way around it. So I don't think they have the authority.
I would like to make
to
a
collect,
comment.
hold on, I don't think they have the authority to collect the fines. I don't think that they will collect the fines, but I like to live dangerously. And I understand that could, it could ruin a school. Quarter $1 million worth of fines or something.
$126,000 to teachers. There's been concerns before overcrowding in schools. I mean, that's $126,000 is 2 teachers. That's 2 teachers' salaries.
One day fine.
That's one occurrence. We're all in agreement. I know nobody wants to stand up and tell us we just need to. Nobody thinks we should mask the kids in this room, I'm pretty sure. We know there's people in this community that will turn us in. So it's
They're
something.
doing it all over the country.
Yeah. So Patty,
In many states.
Patty already knows it's in her business, right? In her business, OSHA Act
Hey,
1975
any more public
says OSHA has
Sir.
no to tell.
Sir, I think you're not gonna tell us anything that we don't already know.
Make the mic.
Public comment, and we're unfortunately.
Please.
Yeah, well, it says they have no authority over anybody that comes into an establishment.
They have no authority
You guys
other
are
than
gonna
the
listen to
employer
it
and
anyways.
employee relationship, period. Nothing, they cannot give a fine, they cannot enforce a fine. I have many of them, my attorneys have been great.
Hey.
It cannot be done.
Appreciate the feedback, but as a board, we have to decide what we'll do. So, other comments from the board?
Yes, Chris. And I agree with every one of the speakers out there. I also agree that, yeah, I would help feed Steve's family if he loses his license. But that ain't gonna help his pay his mortgage for the next 20 years. It's not gonna help his retirement. And I think the key thing that I came away with in watching the new mandates and how the ODE wants it enforced or not enforced was they said one thing, as a new board member, we were all sworn in tonight, at least Wendy, myself, and Joe were sworn in tonight. And in that oath, we swore an oath to uphold the law. I don't like it.
The Constitution is the law. It is the supreme law, and any law made non-constitutional.
I'm not a law attorney and I can't argue with the law. All I know is we have a governor that I do not appreciate at all, but she is in charge and our legislature does not seem to want to take up enough to cross her. And we cannot jeopardize the jobs of over 100 people we have in this district and the opportunity to educate every child in this district by coming out and verbally stating we are for or against a mask mandate. We just cannot do it.
You wouldn't be the first school board to do it if you did.
And if you guys did.
Yes, we would.
What happens when there's no students?
Southern Oregon's
What
already
happens when the
started.
parents keep pulling their students because of the mask? That's what I'm doing.
That's all I have to say, Mr.
Thank you.
But when you guys are teaching,
Is that-
Hold on. No more public comment.
can I say one thing and I'll leave it alone?
Please don't. I don't know. As a locally elected government, it's our responsibility to protect the rights of our staff and our students and our community members. But some of them will have their rights infringed upon if we do take action, if they have their license pulled.
You also know that if parents keep their kids out of school, they're also going to be.
Can you talk louder? Yes, please.
She said if a parent
I
keeps
said
their kid out of school.
if you are as a parent, keep your children out of school, unless you decide to homeschool them or do online school, the process of the school is to educate, provide masks, and then if that is not your choice, then it's to find an alternative. I guess what I'm saying is it'll be turned around to you guys.
There was some option for most.
What was that?
So
It's on option for most people.
you guys are all elected because we chose, right? And we're here telling you what we feel. So this is us giving you our voice as nicely as we can because we're all heated.
We understand, all of us have spoken, everybody understands, all of us are against the masks. What we're trying to point out is if we pass a resolution or anything, is that we automatically, as soon as our minutes get published, then we're a target. So we're already asking for a fine immediately.
Then we fight it.
And what I was pointing out earlier about $126,000 is 2 teachers. Those, we have a lot of local born and raised teachers. Those are your friends, those are your neighbors, those are your kids. Your kids are friends with their kids.
You know, they would walk out too or not. You guys gotten together with the teachers to see how they feel about all this?
This makes my head hurt, and then I keep going back to what is the right thing to do. I will make a motion. We pass a resolution that says we will not enforce face coverings or documentation of immunization. That look like? Just that resolution, and I don't think it has to be anything more than that.
But what does it look like in actuality?
What
What does Mr. Quick tell his principals and his teachers to do?
What is OSBA told you?
Well, I mean, seriously, what's the answer?
they've been told by OE and OSBA that they can't force kids to put on masks, that they can't use punitive measures against them. Is that
Correct, but what does the motion look like on the day-to-day at your day of school? What is Mr. Quick supposed to tell his teachers?
I don't think you have to tell them.
What's the consequence of that?
There is no consequence.
Okay.
There could be on the board, but that, like Rob said, is that right, Rob? That it's gonna come and you just have to see it as it comes.
I feel like, I don't think anything more needs to be said than that. I think that sends a very clear message to our community, sends a clear message to our staff and our teachers. I don't think anyone needs to say, you don't have to wear a mask. We made that. People know what the state mandate is. And they can make their choices and be responsible for their choices. I realize that's a terrible position to put everyone in. I almost feel like that by doing that, it passed the buck on to Mr. Quick and to the administrators. But I feel like it's the right thing to do, and if it makes me feel sick to think of not doing it. I had a bully steal my flip-flops when I was about 10. And I stood up for my property rights and he beat the snot out of me. But I had to do it because he infringed on my rights, and I just feel strongly. We won't be the only ones, and I won't think less of anyone on this board if you don't second it, or if you don't pass it, because I understand everyone is in disagreement with this mandate, and everyone has different reasons. That's just where I'm at.
All they can do is ask us to have our kids masked, but if they decide not to, you know, what's gonna happen, like, you know, get sent home.
Send them to you.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you can walk into
Hold on.
the Safeway.
All right. No. The motion is that we pass a resolution that says we will not enforce face coverings or documentation of immunization.
Nice.
Thank you.
Very nice. Yeah. We love
I'll
it.
second that. I also want to make sure the public understands that there could be consequences that affects more than us up here.
All in favor of the motion signify by raising your hand. All opposed, same sign. 2 in favor, 3 opposed, motion fails. Moving to the next. Thank you all for your patience. Donations. Would someone like to read those? Would you like? Donations from Max Miller to VHS FFA program, $200. Idaho Power to Slater, $100. French Glen Hotel, John Ross to Hines Middle School, $216.60. Safeway to Slater, valued at $7,094.42. Maggie Thompson to Monroe Mechanic Shop, 2004 Jetta, valued at $900. Ruthie's Photography to BHS baseball program, valued at $30.06. Pamela and Roger Glera to CFRC for the lights, $185. David and Rebecca Glera, CFRC, $185. Todd and Joan Vander Dawson, CFRC, $185. Tasty Paul Gill, CFRC, $185. Stephen Bennett, CFRC, $185. Stephen and Beryl Moss, CFRC, $185. First Community Credit Union, CFRC, $3,000. Oregon Marine Construction LLC, CFRC, $185. Harney District Hospital, CFRC, $250. Broken Circle Company, CFRC, $500. Schwab Charitable, CFRC, $2,525. Tim Clemens, CFRC, $185. Rise and Run Construction, CFRC, $185. Carol Lynn, $200, CFRC.
I make a motion to accept the donations as presented.
Moved by Mr. Fulton, seconded by Joe Wright. Accept the donations as presented. All in favor signify by raising your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Accept the donations. Next agenda item is the social studies curriculum. Has everyone had an opportunity to review it?
Yeah.
Is there a presentation included with this?
No, it was at the June board meeting.
There was some,
Just want to make sure that we have this officially approved.
Sorry. So,
I was setting aside for earlier presentation, but I didn't go through it, and I would make a motion to accept the social studies curriculum as presented.
Is there a second? Moved by Randy Fulton, second by Wendy Reed to accept the social studies curriculum. All in favor signify by raising your hand. All opposed, same sign. Passes unanimously. Personnel, new hires. Anything you want to tell us about them, Mr. Quick?
Savannah Bennett is a classified staff care educator last year, year and a half, actually. And she's has a degree and is working towards certification. So we're going to support her in her quest to become a teacher. She'll be licensed with a restricted license starting this fall, but we'll teach at the middle school. It's kind of exciting to have people from within our school district move up and grow within our district. Kids know her, staff know her, so that's a very positive one. Mayor Fallis, he's the teacher that's just accepted the position this week, and we're excited to have him over here. He has stated that he has 31 years of experience in teaching band and choir, United States, Canada, Jordan, Vietnam. He's been all over international schools. Really interviewed well. People were really excited about him. So we really appreciate the work that Eric Sattel has done the last, I believe, 3 years here. He really had that quest to get nearer to his family. You know, he always had that. Really wanted to teach choir was his passion. Here he's doing both. Go somewhere that kind of meets his needs. And I kind of told us going in when we hired him. That's what his end goal was to kind of get close to his family. But sometimes you take employees for as long as you can get them, especially the good ones. Appreciate the time, the effort that you put in. Put on some great concerts. Did some great job with kids. So I want to make sure we thank him for the work he's done.
Is there a motion to accept the new hires as presented? Make a motion to accept the hires resignation. And Wendy seconded. Yes. All in favor of accepting the personnel new hires and resignations as presented, signify by raising your hand. Motion passes. 2021 and 22 substitute rates.
I would make a motion this time that we adopt the 21-22 substitute rates.
Second. Moved by Randy, seconded by Dan. All in favor of the substitute rate, signify by raising your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Lincoln Building. Want to give us an update on that, Mr. Quick?
In terms of the Lincoln Building, we talked a little bit about at our work session this afternoon. It's one of those buildings that the boiler is failing. It would not get approved again for another heating session for the winter. So as we discussed in the work session, my recommendation is open market and try to get some money out of the building and use that money towards improving our facilities.
Oh, does anyone have any discussion on it?
covered pretty well earlier.
I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, this time I would make a motion that the Harney County School District number 3 place the Lincoln School Building and adjoining property with a realty listing every licensed Harney County real estate agent. And let them determine a asking price, and then the board should take a look at any offer we get and decide what kind of price we would accept.
Likely to work with one particular agent to develop a realtor contract with them?
As long as whatever agent you choose has a working relationship. I don't want to exclude any licensed realtor in Harney County.
I think once listed with that agent, then, you know, whoever that agent.
Yeah, I know they do have a working agreement, I just wanna make sure that's in our minutes.
I think it would be put on the, what is the,
MLS.
I'll second that.
So the motion would read that school district number 3 place Lincoln and the adjoining property for sale with every realty agent and let them set the asking price based on their expertise. Was there anything else you wanted to include in that?
The board would have the final decision on accepting any offer.
I think that's kind of hard to sign contracts with multiple real estate agents. You have to pick one selling agent. All agents different buyers.
Could be agents of the MLS, that's what I was trying to get at. Don't exclude, if we have to select one to actually draw up the list. And that could be left up to the superintendent.
Do we need to modify that motion to just strike every agent and say with realty company? Okay.
I'll
Joe
second that
seconded that Vernon School District number 3 place Lincoln building and adjacent property for sale with a realty agent. Let them set the asking price and the board will review and accept offers. Is that correct?
Yes.
All in favor, signify by raising your hand.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
Randy made the motion, Joe seconded.
Sorry.
All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Okay, board policies, this is the first read.
So this is one, it could be a first and a final read on this one, honestly. My recommendation here is to delete policy DLA, 8A schedule. And the rationale behind that is we have in our collective bargaining agreements already in the teaching class, the teaching bargaining agreement for the 21st. We might have the exact same language classified, so there really is no need to have the 24th policy in place. We have agreements with the bargaining units already for this. So when you look at policy, that's what we're for review policy DL. It simply talks about payroll. It states, you know, we're going to prepare payroll, we're going to take care of deductions as necessary as legally obligated, but we're really right now we're already delivering payroll by the 21st. So I don't believe there's a need for DLA. I think DL policy DL already covers it, and that was my recommendation to just simply delete DLA.
And you said that this can serve as the first and final read?
Yes.
I do have a question though.
Okay.
On DL, it says no other automatic deductions except for those required by law. Is it by law if the employee approves it? Because there's federal and state that we do based on their forms, but there's also other not mandatory, but
Right, again, when they have it in the collective bargaining agreements, they have stipulations for other mandatory. So
as long as we
the
follow
collective
that,
bargaining
then-
agreements are already taking care of a lot of this policy.
All right, so is there a motion to delete policy DLA?
I would move that we delete policy DLA.
It's been moved by Randy Fulton, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Dan Wynn. All in favor of deleting policy DLA payday schedule, signify by raising your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Policy DL, which you just went over that, we just need to review it. So does anyone have any amendments, or do you want to pass it as reviewed? We don't really need to.
It's in the collective
All are
bargaining.
made aware of it.
Board operating agreements. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the 3 samples? Does everyone have an opinion as to which one they find most suitable? I like number 3 the best myself, because I thought it was specific and reasonable, not overly verbose.
I agree with Rob on 3, it seems to be the size.
So on number 3, this one I think we did 2 years ago. We did this one. We went through together and as a board, you guys chose, 5 expectations that you would have of me, and I went through and chose kind of 5 expectations I would have from the board. Are those things you would want to perhaps look at tonight, or look at the next month's board meeting between now and then? And put them here, or do you want to we could just delete all of them?
Now, on number 3, I didn't see the 5 expectations, that one there. It's kind of a front and back. One side is the board's expectations, the other side is.
Yeah, so the number 3 is listed as, I mean, you could just do those, right? You just have all these expectations. The idea behind that document is that on the first page, you choose 5 for each one. I choose 5 for my area, you choose 5 yours, kind of focus on them. Or you could ultimately, instead of focusing on 5.1, get rid of that section completely and just use that first section and these expectations for both of us. All the things in there, and all of them make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think we revise it. I don't know if we have the energy or time to revise it tonight. We want to condense it down to 5 again. And I did. It was worthwhile to have a discussion and talk about what we want to focus on. Would you like to table it till the next meeting? I'd like to table it.
Is there a second? Second. Probably moving second to table our board operating agreement to the next meeting. All in favor, signify by raising your hand. All opposed?
No,
So I'm,
I was not.
so what I take from that though, you want to look at number 3, right?
Yeah,
Not the other 2.
yeah, I misread that.
No, you're okay.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Motion table, excuse me. School handbooks, those are just for review. Does anyone have any discussion on the Hines Middle School staff or student handbooks?
There was some others attached that came in later, Slater's and the new K-8 home link online program is on there now too. And it's really good.
So we'll put all of them on there for the next month too, for just sort of basically review. As you read those, if you notice, something that's not congruent with our board policy, take a look back at the administration. The handbooks have been reviewed by the principals, updated. If you notice any discrepancies, things you're worried about, please let us know next month. Put them all in there next month so you can review them all. I can send those out to you well before the board meeting because they are quite late.
The board information, the names of board members.
Some of them weren't updated. I noticed that too.
Okay, so we'll look at that more next time. English learners and Oregon annual report.
So the annual report that's required to be put on your agenda for your review, so you have a chance to look at it and see. I think in a larger district, you'd be required to give you actual numbers from testing from our students, but because of the low number of students we have in our district, it would be really easy. It would be too easy to identify who those students are. So as a result, we don't put that data in your report back. So we're required though by law to make sure you understand that we do serve English learners in our district, and the report's there for you to see kind of how generally statewide it's done.
One thing that I like, Mac, is actually a segue into the safe return to in-person instruction, but in your plan for that, I liked how you said when it called out equity specifically, you address it as every student.
I don't know how else to deal with that one, honestly. Like I think we do. And so I talked to a couple other superintendents and specialists from the Malheur ESD, and she suggested that's what I put in there.
Capitalize. Will support the effective delivery of services to all students. I like that.
And I did keep it rather brief. I didn't go into great detail because I don't think that's necessary. I think we're going to try to do a minimum. We're going to try to keep our kids safe. We're going to do the necessary protocols to keep our kids and our staff safe.
Does anyone else have any comments on that document? I thought it was pretty open and I tried to make that work. Very concerned. Well, all right.
The state doesn't like the law.
Tuition reimbursement rate. No change. And that's set by,
We go by Oregon State University Cascades, and it's 264 per credit.
thoughts about that?
464.
Oh, is it 464?
That's what's highlighted.
Yeah.
64.
School lunch, oh, sorry. School lunch prices. No change. Comments?
That's one that I believe last year students were, I believe, all students were able to lunch for free. That has not been firmed up yet, but that could be coming down the pike before the school year gets going. So, let's see what they say.
Are there any board requests or reports or any information, anything you'd like to see on the agenda next month? Any information you'd like to see? We're already planning on looking at some numbers for those goals. We'll talk about performance and retention. Is there anything else?
I would like to see that, if there's any reports or complaints about the curriculum that was discussed tonight as being an issue in the district, that's brought to administrative level. I'd like to know about that. And then also, that's probably it.
We'll be in school like that too, so it'd be nice to know how the mascot is doing. Not that, you know.
Yeah.
Just, obviously, we'll discuss it again, I'm sure.
Yeah, because the rules are gonna change tomorrow.
Yeah.
I have that.
Well, if there's no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that this meeting be adjourned.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.